Awesome. I'll give it a couple minutes to let people join in, and then I will get started. Let's see. Viewers. Okay. Hi, Nisha. Okay, perfect. I'm seeing everything. Hi, Deepthi. All right. Hello, I'm Hetal Vasavada. I am the founder of Milk and Cardamom, which is a blog, and I wrote a cookbook on desi desserts last year that was mentioned in the New York Times, named one of the best cookbooks of 2019 by the Washington Post and the San Francisco Chronicle. My cookbook is basically all Indian desserts. You have everything from my very famous gulab jamun cake, which is a bundt cake with everyone's favorite dessert syrup, the gulab jamun syrup. I also have Shrikhand parfaits, gula galets, rabri tres leches cakes, and traditional dishes like naan khatai, churma ki laddu, and besan ki barfi recipes all in one. Because let's be real, trying to get your parents' recipes is near impossible. With their recipes where they're saying finger length of garlic or this much sugar, I made it a little bit easier by making it a little bit more approachable, but at the same time also having actual measurements for desserts. My specialty is doing Indian sweets, mithai, and Indian mithai inspired fusion desserts that marry European American desserts with Indian desserts. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make a lemon rose cardamom snickerdoodle cookie. So snickerdoodles are an American cookie that typically have a cinnamon sugar coating on the outside, and then they're baked. So you get this like crispy, crunchy cinnamon sugar on the outside and this like super soft, tender cookie in the middle. Now, this is a very simple eggless cookie recipe that you can make at home. I have my oven set at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. You can also use a toaster oven if that's what you have at home. You could just make them in smaller batches and it'll be much easier to do it that way. Either way, they work. So to get started, in my bowl, I have 141 grams of butter. Into that, I'm going to add 113 grams of sugar. I'm going to mix this up until it just all comes together, and it's gonna look like a very grainy kind of frosting. So this step in a recipe, in a baking recipe, is called creaming. And based on the type of recipe you're using, you would cream it for a certain amount of time. For this cookie, we don't wanna have too much air inside of it, so we're actually not gonna be creaming it too much. But say if you were making a cookie recipe or a chocolate chip cookie recipe, you would cream this for maybe even 5-6 minutes, and what happens is the sugar hits the butter and creates these little air pockets, and that provides insulation. Similar to how you have air gap between two window panes to make insulation, the air bubbles in the butter insulate it and provide even lift when they bake. So if you ever made cookies and the outside of it kind of melts off and gets dark and brown and burnt, it's because you didn't beat your sugar and butter together. This is unsalted butter, yes. Okay, so it's just combined. And in this recipe, like I said, you don't need to cream. Now, in here, I'm going to then add 2 teaspoons of lemon zest, which is basically the skin, the outside thin skin of a lemon. I'm gonna mix that in. Lemon and cardamom is such a nice, delicious pairing. I'm making lemon rose cardamom snickerdoodle cookies. Snickerdoodles are a soft cookie here in the US that you can get. And they're eggless. So once you've added your rose petals, your lemon zest, you're going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So far in the bowl, I have 86 grams of butter, 113 grams of sugar, 2 teaspoons of lemon zest, half a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of rose water. Now the reason, if you were going to make any other dessert and you added 1 teaspoon of rose water that wasn't being baked, you would feel like that's excessive and it would be like potpourri in your mouth. But because we're baking this, what happens is the rose water, most of it actually evaporates off, so you have to sometimes use a little bit extra just to get the extra flavor of rose. And you're gonna mix that in, and it should smell really, really good. Lemon and rose also pair beautifully. And instead of an egg, which you could use an egg if you wanted to, I'm using 2 tablespoons of milk. It's not powdered sugar, it's regular granulated sugar, unrefined sugar. Sorry, refined sugar. And you're just gonna mix this until all the milk is incorporated. Now at this point, if your mixture looks a little curdled or chunky, it's just because your milk was probably colder than your butter, which means and that the butter's just hardening a little bit, but that's not a big deal in the long run. Don't worry. So this is what my mixture looks like. It's very, very kind of lumpy and creamy. I'm making lemon rose cardamom snickerdoodle cookies. So in here, I'm gonna set this aside. And now in here I have 141 grams of maida or all-purpose flour. And I'm adding 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. The baking powder in this recipe, what it does is it makes the cookies puff up in the oven, but then when you take them out of the oven, they'll fall. And it creates these like beautiful cracks in the cookies that are very a signature of a snickerdoodle type of cookie. And you're gonna whisk the baking powder in and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I always add salt to my desserts because it levels out the sweetness and it makes it just slightly less sweet. When I wrote my cookbook, I was adding like salt to like all my laddus and a lot of my Indian desserts, like my besan ki burfi has salt in it too. And my mom was like, "What are you doing? Why are you putting salt in Indian mithai?" But honestly, it makes such a difference. It makes it less cloyingly sweet. So my salt, I have 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1.5 teaspoon of baking powder, and 141 grams of maida or all-purpose flour in this bowl that I whisked together. And then now I'm just gonna add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And you're gonna mix this until it just comes together. You don't wanna overmix anything when you're baking, especially once you add the flour, because what you do is you end up forming a lot of gluten. And gluten is what gives you that tough, chewy texture in cookies, and you'll end up with like hard biscuits instead of a soft, tender cookie. So scrape down the sides of your bowl and mix. So a snickerdoodle is a type of soft cookie here in the US. I don't know if there's an Indian equivalent, to be honest, but what they are cookies that are coated in a cinnamon sugar. So you roll the cookie dough out and then you roll it in a mixture of sugar and cinnamon, and then you bake them and they flatten out as they bake. And you have this like crispy cinnamony coating on the outside and a very nice soft tender cookie in the middle. In this case, I'm going to be coating mine in a cardamom sugar coating instead of a cinnamon sugar to make it a little bit more Indian. So now this is all mixed together. It's a thick batter, but it's still very loose. And this would not be easy to roll into a ball. So I'm going to go throw this in the freezer for about 5-10 minutes to let it just harden a little bit so it's easier for me to scoop and roll it out. So I'll be right back and I'll show you what to do next. Okay. Oh, thanks, Dipti. That's my sister who's giving you all the information. So in here, I have 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then I added maybe a teaspoon of rose petals to it. And I'm going to add...
How long is it going to take to finish?
Half a teaspoon. So it takes, to finish, it should take, so it's going to be in the freezer for 5 minutes. We're going to roll them out, which should take another 5 minutes. And then you bake them for about 7 minutes. So it's a very quick and easy recipe. So in my 2 tablespoons of sugar, I have 1 teaspoon of rose petals. I'm adding half a teaspoon of cardamom, ground cardamom, or elaichi. And you're going to whisk it together. And we're going to be rolling the cookie dough into this before we bake it. So what happens in the oven is that the sugar kind of melts and creates this like crispy coating on the outside, and it's super delicious. You can also find this recipe on my blog at milkandcardamom.com, or you can see what the final product looks like on my Instagram, which is also milkandcardamom. So while I wait for the freezer, if there's any quick questions, I can answer those. My sister's doing all the promoting. But even beyond that, I was actually, before I got into food, I was in healthcare, and I actually was on MasterChef USA. I made it to the top 6. I was the first Hindu vegetarian on the show and made it quite far. And after I came off, I actually tried out for MasterChef India and got on, but I had my daughter and I wasn't able to go. But in general, baking has been kind of one of my favorite things to do, especially baking with Indian flavors, because I grew up with mithai. I never really got the cookies and stuff that a lot of my American friends got, and I wanted to create a dish or desserts that really represented me as an American and Indian person. So this recipe makes 12 cookies. So I'll just talk you through the recipe process one more time real fast. And you can find the recipe written down also on my blog at milkandcardamom.com. So the recipe is going to be, it's going to be 86 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature. You're going to mix that with 113 grams of sugar. And the sugar is going to be regular granulated sugar. It doesn't have to be powdered sugar. Once that's creamed together, you're going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon zest, which is the skin of a lemon. And then you're going to mix that in. Once that's in, you're going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of rose water. Not rose essence. If you're using rose essence, use only half a teaspoon because it is much stronger than just regular rose water. You're going to also add 2 tablespoons of milk. And if you do eat eggs, you can also just use 1 egg instead of 2 tablespoons of milk. You're going to mix that until it all comes together. At this point, if it looks curdly or if it looks like it's separating, don't worry. It just means that your butter and your milk were 2 different temperatures and that the milk is cooling the butter down slightly. It'll be fine. It won't make a difference. Once that's all mixed together, in a separate bowl, you're going to mix 141 grams of all-purpose flour or regular maida, and you're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. You're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You're going to mix that until it is combined and that it's just, you just want to make sure that you don't have all the baking powder in one section. You want to make sure it's well distributed throughout the flour. And you're going to add all the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And you're going to mix it just until it comes together and there are no pockets of dry flour anywhere. And then you pop it in the freezer or the fridge for about 5 to 10 minutes, just so that it's a little bit easier to work with because it's a very sticky dough and you're gonna have a hard time rolling it out. If you don't want to use rose water, you can totally use orange blossom water. You can leave it out completely, to be honest. In my recipe, I typically don't use rose water. The one that's on my blog, the recipe that's on my blog, you can just use a little extra vanilla extract. You can use Georda, and I think those are really the best 2 options. So you can't use ghee instead of butter in this cookie recipe because you need the, basically butter and ghee are separated because the water is removed. You need that extra water that's in butter for the chemistry of the cookie to actually occur, you need a reaction. So you'll end up with a very greasy cookie if you use ghee, and it might also get very stiff and hard. Like if you were to make cookies with like oil or ghee, the cookies come out very crispy. If you want a very soft cookie, you have to use ghee in this case. The only thing that's giving it any sort of stability in this recipe is actually using white sugar. That's giving it structural stability in the end. Awesome. And I have a lot, if you're eggless, I have a lot more eggless recipes on my blog as well. I have eggless cakes, eggless cookies, brownies, all sorts of eggless desserts. I grew up eggless. I eat eggs now, but I do have a lot of good eggless recipes in general. All right, I'm gonna go grab my cookie dough because it should be ready by now, and I'll show you how to roll this out. So let me show you what I have here. So I have my baking pan. On top of it, I've put my a silicone mat. If you don't have a silicone mat, you can totally use parchment paper. I highly suggest using some sort of barrier between the baking board and the cookie because, again, it provides a little bit of insulation and it will kind of make sure the bottom of the cookies don't burn, essentially, or get stuck to the pan, because nothing's worse than like baking and then everything gets stuck to the pan and you have to like scrape it off. It's the worst. Okay, so I have my baking pan ready. Right here, I have my chilled cookie dough. So what I'm going to do is take about a walnut size amount of dough, roll it in a circle, and then remember this sugar mixture. This was 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. Let me see if I can, there we go. White granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of rose petals, and half a teaspoon of cardamom, ground cardamom or ground elaichi. I'm gonna take my little dough ball and gently roll it in the sugar. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. Don't worry, it's gonna spread when you bake it. And be very gentle with it because the dough is still quite soft. So you're going to portion that all out. And it should make 12 cookies depending on like how big your dough is. Like how big you roll out your dough balls. You can get anywhere from 6 to 12 cookies essentially.
Mommy?
So I'm just rolling it gently in the sugar mixture. So this recipe is surprisingly very popular amongst my friends' parents because they like to have it with a cup of cha in the morning. A lot of my friends made these during quarantine and their parents have very much been enjoying them, which I didn't expect because most, like if you're like my mom, if your parents are like my mom's answer to everything is too much sugar. It's too much sugar, too sweet. So I'm surprised that some parents have been into it. Okay, so I'm just rolling it, right? It's about a size of a walnut. And then I'm just rolling it in the sugar mixture that I created earlier. And again, you can find this recipe on my website at milkandcardamom.com. And you can find the recipe video for this at my Instagram page, Milk and Cardamom. So I'm making fairly large balls, so I don't know if I'll get full 12. Usually if you're, like I am very precise and accurate, and I would actually weigh out each cookie dough, each ball, to make sure they're all the same size. But since I'm moving a little faster, I'll just do half the batch for now and then pop them in the oven so you can see what they look like when they're baked. All right. You cannot use jaggery powder in this case because the jaggery powder doesn't. Jaggery powder works great if you're trying to make like chocolate chip cookies or any sort of drop cookie, but for a type of sugar cookie, it doesn't work very well because what happens is the jaggery powder actually like makes it very crumbly and too soft to even pick up. So here are my cookie dough balls that are coated in the cardamom, sugar, and rose petals. And I'm gonna bake these at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 7 minutes. Now, at 7 minutes, they're going to look raw. They are. And you're gonna think that something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. That is exactly what it's supposed to look like. What you're going to do is remove it from the oven and let them cool completely on the tray. And the residual heat from the tray will continue cooking it. So what happens is the outside and the bottom get really nice and done, and the middle will just be just perfectly cooked so that they're nice and soft and chewy. So if you're a fan of soft chocolate chip cookies, you will love these. Now I'm gonna go put this in the oven so I can show you what they look like in 7 minutes. Now, based on the type of pan you're using, you might need an extra minute or so. So if you're using an aluminum pan or a light colored metal pan, you'll probably need 1 or 2 minutes extra because they don't reflect heat as much as a dark pan does. And this is my daughter, Ilara.
Bye, Mommy.
Bye. It's her first day of school today. She's going back to school. And the rules are very strict here right now in the US. It's only 10 children per class. They get their temperature checked when they come in, hands washed, sanitized. They get their own like crayons and supplies. So she's going back today for the first time. She needs it socially.
I'm a little nervous.
You're a little nervous?
I'm a little nervous to go to the other school.
No, it's your same school, Ilara. You'll have fun, okay?
No, my other school.
So if you follow me on Instagram, Ilara makes quite a lot of appearances because since quarantine began in March, she's been at home with us and trying to do videos, trying to do recipes. You know, as a mom, it's impossible. Your kids are always in your face and always around. So Ilara's been making lots of cameos in all my recipes, and we've been baking together a lot. Okay, have fun.
Bye, Mama.
They all say all the best. Say thank you.
Bye.
Say bye. Okay, have fun. Okay, bye. Okay, I see you.
Maga.
Agamaga. Agamaga. Okay, have fun at school, okay, baby? Okay. That is, you know, regular mom life, baking for me. So this is actually my full-time job. I work on my blog, and I obviously have my cookbook that I wrote, and I work on my Instagram, and my normal job was doing social media for restaurants, but ever since quarantine and COVID-19, a lot of the restaurants I work with haven't been functioning, so I've been baking from home to kind of show everyone else how to bake and enjoy the zen that it is. So I would bake them so it's at Celsius, right? Hold on, let me convert it. I should know this, but I don't. Let me Google this. I should know this. Sorry, guys. That was a fail on my part. My apologies.
Yeah. She always says that.
So we want to go 375 F to C. That will be 190 degrees. Preeti, that will be 190 degrees for you. No, not Diptimasi. Preeti.
You said Diptimasi when I hold it at the back.
Okay. My daughter is very much obsessed with her masi, I think like most kids. And my sister's the one that's been sharing all the links to the recipe that's on my site. So even after today, if you want to go back, you can go to my blog and find the recipe. I put everything in grams, in metric, and in US measurements, so it's easier for you guys to do as well. And if you ever have any questions, you can always DM me on Instagram. I'm always happy to answer any baking questions you might have. I really want people to learn how to bake and understand like the joy it can give to bake food. to bake sweets and desserts. Because, I mean, let's be real, we're Indian and we'll find an excuse for any reason to eat desserts, right? Like your cricket team wins, you're going to send out a box of mithai. Your kid gets an A, you send out a box of mithai. Like we enjoy our sweets and it's okay. Aw. Oh, you guys are so nice. Thank you so much for all the kind comments. I very much appreciate it. My blog is milkandcardamom.com. So if you want more, I feel like I'm doing a sales call. I'm so sorry. It feels very pitchy, but I do have a cookbook. You can find it on Amazon India, by the way, and you can find it on the Book Depository, which does free delivery worldwide if you'd like it. And I have all sorts. I have like honey cake. My favorite, I'm Gujarati. My favorite is like I have recipes for chundo, which you can find in here. All measured out so you don't have to bug your mother and, you know, try to figure out like asrese recipes that our mom and dad give us. Oh, my sister and my mom are watching. Ilara. Ba says good luck.
Huh?
Grandma says good luck.
Cause what?
For school.
Thank you, Grandma. Thank you.
I do have a Facebook. It's also Milk and Cardamom. So I'm making lemon rose cardamom snickerdoodle cookies. Yes, you can use almond flour. This is actually one of those recipes that you can make gluten-free if you'd like. I do have a Facebook. It's Milk and Cardamom. There goes my sister. She's posting all the links. Thank you, Deepthi.
Bye, Dipti.
Yeah, say bye. So I'm going to prepare my little spot so I can bring my hot pan here. So I think I'll be able to finish just in time because they told me I had 30 minutes to bake everything. So I'm trying very hard to make it go faster. So I'll have probably like 2 minutes left by the time the cookies come out of the oven to share with you guys. But yeah, you can get my book on Book Depository and Amazon as well. It seems like everyone that's watching this is pretty much my entire family. Thank you. Ilara, Daddy's mommy and daddy also say good luck. This has become just a full Amazon, a Facebook Live for Ilara now. She now owns it.
I love you, Grandma.
Aww. See, Deepthi Masi, everyone says good luck. They're all excited for you to go back to school. We're going to wash our hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to clean.
And we're gonna read books.
Yes, we're going to read books. That's for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're not gonna hear crayons.
So after you bake cookies, it sticks to the finger after you bake. So what you're going to do is make sure, one, that you're using parchment paper or a silicone matte liner. Oh, my cookies are done. Let me go grab them. So 2 of my cookies rolled over and I didn't realize it when I put them in the oven, so they're kissing. That's fine, I'll just cut them apart with a knife. They're still gonna taste good. But this is essentially what they look like. You see that they separated. I mean, not separated, they puffed up. Now I'm going to keep them on this hot tray for 10 minutes before I move them. So what's gonna happen is you see them all puffed up right now. They're actually going to flatten out as it cools down. And you're gonna get these beautiful little ridges and cracks in the cookie that it makes them look just so beautiful. Now, I know they don't look brown like too browned. This is normal. Don't think you need to put them back in the oven. This is what they need to look like when you pull them out. They will continue cooking on the hot tray for at least 10 minutes. Thank you. Yeah, Ilara is always the star of any show. But I think that is actually all the time I have. I'm only given 30 minutes. But please do try these. They're really good. Once again, they're lemon rose cardamom snickerdoodle cookies. They're crispy on the outside with the cinnamon, or sorry, not cinnamon, a cardamom, lemon, and rose coating, or sorry, cardamom sugar. It is 6:30 in the morning here. I'm barely awake. I'm trying very hard without coffee or cha right now. They have a crispy coating of sugar, rose and cardamom, and then the inside is nice and soft. So after they're baked, you're gonna let them cool on the tray, and then you can enjoy them. And they're really good with jaw and coffee. They smell amazing. They make your house smell so good. And I promise, if you're cooking for an auntie or uncle, they will love it. If you're trying to impress your in-laws, this is the cookie recipe to try. Do it. You can find the recipe on my blog at milkandcardamom.com. You'll see my sister's posting the link, but I hope you guys enjoyed the little baking lesson and a little bit of entertainment from my sister. And do give these a try. Tag me on social media if you do. I want to see what your cookies look like. You can tag me at Milk and Cardamom. And if you have any questions, always feel free to message me on Instagram, again at Milk and Cardamom. So I hope you guys have a good day, well, good night over there in India. And I hope you guys are staying safe and enjoying cooking at home with your families and spending a little extra time, especially in these crazy times. So y'all have a good day. And if you do make them, make sure you tag me. I want to see your creations. It brings me so much joy to see other people baking recipes from my blog. So bye guys, have a good day or night. Sleep well if you're in India, and if you're in the US, have a good day and enjoy. Bye. Hi, Hamamasi. It's pretty much, I'm pretty sure this is all my family members in India. Bye guys.